What's going on, Cobra Kai fans? So Season 6 Part 2 just concluded a few weeks ago, but there's already thousands of questions after that ending, including, is Quan dead? Is he still alive? I also have a video on that on the channel, but today we're going to talk about Miguel because there's been some theories about him returning to Cobra Kai. Now, me personally, I'm not entirely sure I think that's what's going to happen with his character, but there are some possible reasons for it. Let's talk about this leaked image, though, that came out prior to Cobra Kai Season 6 Part 2 with Miguel in a Sekai Taikai captain headband and a Cobra Kai gi. Now, this is a little bit of a dated image. It actually dropped about 4 months ago, and creator Jon Hurwitz actually weighed in on that leak and said, "I've seen that there are leaks and it's extremely disappointing. I don't understand why fans would do that to other fans. Thankfully, we were aware this sort of thing happens, so we sometimes filmed alt versions of things and had actors dressed in various costumes they don't wear on the show. Glad to see that's working." So it's very possible that this was actually just a staged photo for people to run around and theorize that Miguel would switch, but he actually didn't. We still got one more part left, and there's all the possibility that he could be going over to the Cobra Kai dojo once again. So let's talk about 3 scenarios I think could happen in order for Miguel to return to Cobra Kai, from most likely to least likely. Most likely, I don't think Miguel goes back to Cobra Kai. I think he stays with Miyagi-Do. Maybe the Sekai Taikai ends, and there's a tournament back at the All Valley, and all of them are competing against one another. I can see a scenario like that, but I'm not entirely sure I see Miguel willingly in the Sekai Taikai going back to Cobra Kai. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense. But I have a couple of other scenarios where maybe, just maybe, the story could take a turn in order for him to go back. But I just think that's my most likely scenario. I don't think Miguel's going back to Cobra Kai. I just think it's against his character at this point, and it feels weird for him to switch sides back to Cobra Kai and the Sekai Taikai. But let's talk about scenario number 2, which is Sekai Taikai tournament ends and they go back to the All Valley and Miguel and Johnny become Cobra Kai again. So I could 100% see this version of Cobra Kai concluding. I think after Quan's death, they gotta realize that their philosophy of strike first, strike hard, no mercy is a bad philosophy for these children to have. So with these consequences, they will disband the current Cobra Kai, and maybe Johnny will go back to the Valley and reform his version of Cobra Kai that was taking those bully kids, giving them some confidence, giving them some fighting abilities, and allowing them to grow in their confidence and step into a more confident version of themselves, which I could see that happening. Maybe Johnny and Daniel don't work together forever and they split the dojos, and yeah, it's Cobra Kai versus Miyagi-Do once again. I definitely could see that happening, and then they do an All Valley, and Miguel goes with Johnny, Robbie goes with Daniel, and then they're the 2 champions of the dojos. They fight. I think that's how the series is going to end anyway, but I'm not entirely sure I see it ending with Miguel and Cobra Kai. But I think if he does go back, this is the scenario you have it in the All Valley tournament, not at the Sekai Taikai. So let's talk about that scenario, guys. The last scenario and my least likely scenario, the Sekai Taikai continues, and Miguel crosses over to Cobra Kai for various reasons. Now, I think the reason why he would is maybe because Quan does die, Kreese quits on Cobra Kai, and maybe him and Johnny see this and they see that the kids in Cobra Kai are just like the Miyagi-Do kids. They really want to test their confidence, test their abilities against other dojos around the world, even though this death happens. I could see them going over to that dojo in order to help them continue competing. But again, like I said, this, in my opinion, is the least likely scenario. I just don't see that happening with these 2 characters, but I do think scenario number 2 could happen, and I'm definitely thinking scenario number 1, he's not going back to Miyagi-Do. Jon Hurwitz already even said they filmed fake scenes in order to throw people off. So I just think that was a fake scene. Also, you know what? I've got one more scenario for you, a bonus scenario. Scenario number 4, maybe it is a dream or what if sequence, just like Daniel had with Mr. Miyagi when he was competing with him in the Sekai Taikai. Maybe it's a sequence similar to that. Maybe it's Miguel realizing what would happen if me and Johnny stayed with the Cobra Kai philosophy. What if it was me on the mat? And we do see Miguel in a Cobra Kai gi and a captain's headband, but only in that what if or dream-like scenario. That's another one that I actually could probably push up to a more likely. I could see Miguel reflecting on what if he had stayed in Cobra Kai. So I honestly don't think he's gonna go back to Cobra Kai, but hey, I think the most likely scenario being, if he does go back to Cobra Kai, being that, hey, they do it in All Valley and he does don the Cobra Kai gi once again, and him and Robbie, it comes back around to that first fight in the first All Valley of this series. Man, that would be so much fun, you guys. I am so looking forward to part 3 and what they do after that grave loss in the Sekai Taikai. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So what do you think is gonna happen with Miguel? Which scenario do you think is most likely? And do you have a scenario? Let us know down in the comments, and hey, hit that subscribe button if you're new. We got more videos coming on Cobra Kai, Sonic, Marvel, movies, TV, and more. So go ahead and hit that big red subscribe button down below, and we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods.